in the long run, I also think the best lawyer would be someone who would have his independent practice. I personally also think that growth of intellectual property law as a field to monetize is directly proportional to the education and the commerce of the country that you're living.
Hmm.
I did an analogy in fifth stand of Love Shabd Chicken Khurana with trade secrets.
Ah, right, right. Okay.
So that article at that point of time covered every Indian judgment to of trade secrets. If you're starting an IP chamber in Delhi, you will have more work because there is more work without a
Hmm.
doubt. When I reached Delhi, bought a house on rent, and then I had to go to the law school, and then I had to board a bus for the first time, and I was like
Wow.
surprised कि मैंने अपनी जिंदगी में एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने के भी पैसे नहीं दिए. So
First few years of your law career that you spent with your friends, it's really fun. I think it's one of the most valuable experiences that one can have. Hello, friends and future colleagues. Welcome to another engaging episode of the Law Guest Talk Show. Today, we have the privilege of hosting a distinguished legal expert who has made significant strides in the realm of intellectual property rights. Joining us is Ankit Rastogi, a partner at Mason and Associates. Advocate Ankit Rastogi is an esteemed alumnus of Amity Law School, Delhi, which is an IP university, where he completed his BA LLB and was admitted to the bar in 2011. Further honing his expertise, he earned his LLM in intellectual property law from USLLS Delhi in 2021, where he graduated with a certificate of merit and gold medal for standing first in the order of merit. Sir's core domain lies in intellectual property enforcement and strategy. In 2012, he co-founded the website IndianCaseLaw.in, contributing numerous interesting articles on intellectual property rights. Before joining Mason and Associates in 2022, he garnered extensive experience in IP prosecution and litigation at several boutique IP law firms. He has been instrumental in landmark decisions on single color marks, reverse confusion, comparative advertising, and priority rights in trademarks. His dedication extends beyond practice as he actively participates in initiatives such as judging moot court competitions, attending conferences, and speaking at webinars. In 2023, Sir had successfully argued Delhi High Court's first decision on issue of registrability of geographical names as arbitrary trademarks, titled Siddharth Suri versus Registrar of Trademarks. Recently, in the benchmark litigation Asia Pacific 2024 rankings, Mr. Ankit Rastogi has been honored as the future star in intellectual property. Please join me in welcoming a legal 500 recommended lawyer and a beacon in the intellectual property domain to our show. Welcome to the show, sir.
thank you, Muskan. The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for inviting. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you so much, sir. Just that your enthusiasm also and the encouragement that you've given me before coming on the show, that's been very valuable. I have been looking forward to this podcast like from a long time. So very, very happy to have you here. Also
Thank
because this is something very different. Because we have not had on our show somebody who's actually, had so many different interest, but also niche has a very particular niche in his career. So when I talk about interest, before we get into that, let's talk about why did you choose law?
See, when I did my standard 12th, right, and for, you actually choose your probable stream or college,
Mm-hmm.
and in the initial parts of your 12th standard, my perspective was that I had not decided any stream. I had a commerce background, and then I realized that the longest course somebody can do after commerce was law for 5 years.
Okay.
So I don't have to think for another 5 years
Mm-hmm.
what to do next. Neither have to tell my parents what my plans are and everything. So that's why I chose law as a career, not as a career, but law as a graduation stream because of the length of the course.
All right.
That's
Okay.
as simple as it was at that point in time. Career, it eventually happened because by the fifth year, I got an offer from a chamber in the
Mm-hmm.
Delhi High Court. Ms. Chandrani Prasad gave me an offer. August 2011, when I was just enrolling for the bar, I did an internship with her for 6 months, and yeah, I got that offer, and then it's been one ride since 2011.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to this perspective that you had about staying somewhere. Was it because you felt like a little directionless at that moment that, I don't know what I want to do, and law seems like a very safe career?
No, no. I had, in fact, no idea about how law as a career is. So, my father is a businessman. We have a significant business in the city of Meerut. When I decided to do law as a career, it was only the reason was pure and simple. It was a 5 year course. And I'll
Mm,
think after 5 years what I need to do. Probably I'll do my master's. Probably I'll join my father in the business,
mm,
but there was no career objective when I joined the profession.
mm,
I my idea was developed from some Hollywood and Bollywood films as to what lawyers do. Trust me, there
okay.
was no legal career coaching that happens nowadays. There is no mentorship that happens nowadays. So I joined law school. I
Mm,
thought I have some gift of gab. God has been kind. I joined the law school thinking I'll put something into it, make something out of it. But I had no idea how the field is. I had no idea how the career will span out. I had no idea on packages. I had no idea on law firms. I had absolutely no idea when I joined.
right. So coming from actually your business background, you always think that, okay, maybe I will end up having a job, or even if, let's say, further into your 5 years, you thought that I will not be working at a law firm. Maybe I will be having my own law firm, or I'll try to set up something of my own.
Even when I started in 2011 or when I joined my law school, I never thought of having a practice of my own. When I joined the law school, I thought I'll get some job, someone will hire me 5 years down the line, or I'll join that. But there was never a plan to start on your own at that point in time, whether when I
Okay.
joined the bar or whether I joined the law school.
Okay, I was asking because I'm also from a business background and my father's also a businessman. The first thought that he has in his mind is always telling me that, chalo ho jayega job and all ka, but you have to set up your own thing. And I was telling him that I have just graduated. I don't know like where I'm going right now. So, it's always like your parents always tell you that, okay, this is the vision, that this is how you're supposed to, plan your career out.
I completely agree with his bent of mind since he's a businessman. At the end of the day, I think when you start on your own, the possibilities are endless. When you have
Mm.
your own business, again, the possibilities are endless because at the end of the day, you are not restricted by a monthly salary, right?
True.
You put in hard work, you have X amount of clients, you have X amount of appearances which you can increase. Suppose you get more work, you can delegate it to a junior. So I think somebody who's from a business background, whose father is from a business background, will get that advice. That's very natural.
Yeah.
And in the long run, I also think the best lawyer would be someone who would have his independent practice because then he'll be under the most pressing pressure of handling clients, getting food on the table, paying his juniors. So yeah,
Right. I mean, people for like normal people, the first of every month is the best time because they get their salaries in their account. But for the
correct,
partners and the people who are up there who actually have to deliver those salaries, the first of the month is really scary because कैसे जाएगी salary, कितने
correct,
लोगों को करना है.
correct,
ये
correct.
तो like it all comes with like if you're on the top, you have to be very stable about everything. कि okay, first is मतलब scary.
I can completely understand. So I won't name the office. I was once working in an office, and probably the last month was bad, or probably the clients had died down. Something had happened, and the first time in around 6 7 years, the salaries had delayed, and
Mm.
a lot of the juniors have to pay their rents,
Mm.
right? And the landlord doesn't understand that your salary has not come on time. I just requested my boss at that time that you just give me the bare minimum, which I need to pay my rent and just need for my food. Rest, whenever you have the money, you can give it to me. And he did that.
Oh.
So sometimes there are bad months. It's completely natural. June becomes difficult to pay because the
Hmm.
courts are shut, so the work really dies down. So the
Right.
salary for July becomes, for some chambers, the salary of July might become slightly difficult to pay.
Okay, all right. But you also made a shift from Meerut to Delhi, I think. And that shift must have been a little bit different because when you were younger, I think coming from one city to another and shifting there, it is a huge change. So, what did you do to adapt to this new city, the new friends, a new environment.
Touch wood, we've been very lucky. When we were growing up, my dad had few cars with him. We had cars, we had chauffeurs, and so there was never a problem of commuting. I had my own two-wheeler in the city. But when I reached Delhi, bought a house on rent, and then I had to go to the law school, and then I had to board a bus for the first time, which at that time costed 10 rupees. Bus costed 10 rupees, and second, the auto used to cost 40 rupees. And I was like
Wow.
surprised कि मैंने अपनी जिंदगी में एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जाने के भी पैसे ही नहीं दिए. So so that was the first shift that happened ki, okay, you're in a big city, that's how things work. Now you're not with that cushion that you had. You get an X amount of money every month from your father, and you'll have to maintain your rent, your food, your clothing,
Right.
your laundry, your books, everything within that amount. So sometimes, I don't know how much you traveled in a daily bus. I mean, 2006 we used to travel. Then the tickets were 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 5 rupees, 10 rupees. These
Mhm.
were the ticket slots. And even if we have to pay 5 rupees in 2006, we used to lie that हम staff से हैं. So, for
Uh,
example, if a bus is from A route to B route, suppose it's a कालका जी bus, you say मैं तो देशबंधु से हूँ, देशबंधु का
अच्छा.
स्टाफ है. कभी वो आपको कार्ड मांग लेगा, कभी नहीं मांगेगा. कार्ड
हाँ.
मांग लिया तो 5 रुपए दे दो, नहीं मांगा तो फ्री राइड हो गई. So yeah, that's what things we did. We used to share autos, traveled a lot in bus. I used to
Mm.
go home every Friday, come back on Mondays.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a shift. It was a huge shift in terms of realizing a lot of things. So you've gone to good restaurants to eat in your city,
Mhm.
but when you have that budget and you have to go to Delhi, you can't go every day to a fancy or even a mid-sized restaurant. You'll have to go to a dhaba.
Uh,
When I went first time to a dhaba, I said, "Oh, I can't eat here." This was the first day I had gone out. I said, "I can't eat here." And my friends who had come from Meerut, so we were 4 people in
okay.
not one 2 BHK. So they said, "Chup chap khale." So मैंने कहा नहीं नहीं मैं नहीं खाऊंगा. So I went to a bakery, got some burger or something, and had dinner. That was my dinner that night. Next day, I realized that this will not work, and I have to eat. So yeah, so there was shift. There were a lot of things you learn when you leave your house. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Even like for me also, I went from Delhi to Mumbai to study, and that was a huge shift for me because to learn how to like manage that same amount of money every single month, because sometimes the expenses are high, sometimes low. Also, law books cost a lot. So then all managing all of this, it was very difficult. But obviously, the first few years of your law career that you spend with your friends, staying with them or working around with them, it's really fun. I think it's one of the most valuable experiences that one can have.
Yeah.
I can see you reminiscing like the the old times.
So we used to live in Khidki Extension.
Okay.
It's next to Malviya Nagar,
Hmm.
and PVR Saket was the closest movie hall.
Okay.
And sometimes we used to run out of money, so we used to walk from PVR Saket till Khidki, which was about 1.5 2 kilometers.
Hmm.
So that's also happens. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So you would consider yourself a Delhiite, like a proper Delhiite now.
I don't know whether I am a Delhiite or not. I don't know what's the definition, what's the criteria. I have lived 1 year in the city in 2006, 2007, then college shifted to Noida.
Mm-hmm.
So from 2007 till 2018, I was in Noida for 11 years. Then I shifted back to Delhi in 2018, and then, since then I've been in Delhi. But what falls into the core trap of a Delhiite, I really don't know. I'll just say I know some parts of Delhi, but
Mm-hmm.
whether I'm a Delhiite or not will depend if my car gets hit and then I come out and say something. So
Right.
what would be my exact words will decide whether I'm a Delhiite.
Right, bilkul. So also it's very interesting that you mentioned PVR and the movies, because I wanted to ask you about this thing which I was mentioning in my introduction before, about how cinema and IPR are like two things that you really like. So how did you come about liking cinema a lot?
how did I come to liking cinema? I really don't remember, because I have followed the Hindi film industry. Now
Hmm.
I don't call it Bollywood. I call it Hindi film industry.
You're clever that way. Smart of
uh,
you.
yeah. So since I was 6, 7 years old, I have been watching movies on cable televisions. My dad used to get those cassettes. First, those cassettes used to come this big.
Right,
Then
right.
CDs used to come subsequently. So when did the liking start? I don't know, but I was really fascinated by movies. I could go to a theater at the drop of a hat. There was a joke in the college that on Friday Mr. Rastogi will not be available in college.
Oh, okay.
I clearly remember, I am a 1988 born. The first two movies probably I saw, or three, were Jurassic Park, Dar, and Khalnayak. This is 1993. So
Jurassic Park back then was in English or in Hindi?
it was in Hindi. In Meerut, it was released in Hindi.
Okay. Something called the Kunkar Chipkili or something is called, no?
Maybe.
Right.
I don't recollect, but
Wow,
हाँ वो ऐसा होता है.
what an era of watching
Correct.
Jurassic Park in Hindi.
Correct.
Okay, but it takes a lot for somebody to translate that interest into their career also. Did it never cross your mind that maybe I can do something in the creative field? Because I'm saying that because I have seen your interest and I've seen your journey so far. Even like posting on LinkedIn, you are a very creative person. Like there's a lot of personality that shows up on everything that you create. It's very interesting. So you never thought that you wanted to go into something creative, maybe that way.
I did. I did. But again, my decisions at the time I was 17 led me to certain things which I am, and I could not be. So I chose law, got a job, then I started working in law firms, and then the dream that could have been. So the plan was, if I don't get into a law school, I decided to do mass communications. That was plan B.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I wanted to become a radio jockey. That
Okay.
was an internal dream, right? So I always thought, yes, I am creative. There is some part of me that's creative. I never thought of doing it as a career ever after I started on my uh, professional journey into this field. And
Hmm.
I also personally think, Muskan, that you don't need a professional degree to be creative, right? I mean, what I'm saying is that if I want to do something creative, I can do it even today. Today,
Hmm.
the avenues are completely different. You don't need a broadcaster, you don't need a TV channel, you don't need anything. You just need a camera and your creativity. And sometimes, in some cases, you don't even need a camera with podcasts happening.
Hmm.
So, I personally don't think that I've been restricted. There is a long life to go. I think my creativity juices come out on Friday evenings on LinkedIn.
Uh,
And so I do a lot of proofreading and editing for certain comic books.
right.
So that's where some creative juices also get out. Obviously, those posts on LinkedIn. But if you, the question that you posed, whether I decided to, I never did.
Right. So this editing that you do, I'm very curious about this. So this is something that you do in your spare time, or is it part of the job that they give you?
I'm now a partner in a law firm. I don't have spare time, so those words are not to be used against me at all.
Right.
So even if I do, I don't have a spare time. See, I was just thinking this today morning. I have never done one thing at a time in life. Never ever. When I was in just joined the bar in 2011, I co-founded Indian Case Law.
Hmm.
Right. Then in 19, I did my LLM.
Hmm.
Right. Then now I do these endeavors on editing and proofreading comic books. It's always been, I just somehow feel that the work that's given, or the work that's assigned, that the work needs to be done, gets done in those work hours that are there, and the
Hmm.
rest remaining days are for you to unwind, or you to pursue your creative interests. So
Right.
whether do I get spare time, I take out spare time. Sometimes it also is a passion project, no? So suppose I've been given a story to work on, and I really like the story,
Hmm.
right? And so then it is not about time. You end up spending 3 4 hours. I'm sure it would have happened with you that there is a task which you really enjoy doing, which is also a part of your work, but
Hmm.
then you spend 6 7 hours on it, but you didn't feel like that's work.
Right.
So
That's
yeah,
called the state of flow, right? The state where you constantly keep working without feeling tired or anything
correct.
because your idea of the work matches, how you feel about it. So that's all.
So I used to do a lot of PowerPoint presentations also for all the firms that I worked in. Most of the firms, not all of the firms.
Voluntarily or
No, 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 no. Voluntarily, non-voluntary, I had no problems with doing PowerPoint presentations.
okay,
I
okay.
love doing PowerPoint presentations.
Hmm.
You can do a lot of creative things in a PowerPoint presentation.
Right.
So whenever I have been given a lecture to speak upon, or a topic to speak upon, or have to give a presentation to the client, I love doing it on PowerPoints. I don't feel like that's work, because
Hmm.
you just have to know the content, and then everything else in a PowerPoint is creative.
What do you like in creative, especially like so? Let's say so when it comes to writing this, sorry, editing this comic book, what do you exactly do in the editing process?
So I check whether it's factually accurate or not. Number one.
Okay.
Now, suppose it is a 17th comic book of a character. It has
Mm-hmm.
16 past comic books.
Mm-hmm.
He would have done something in those 16 past comic books. He would have some
Right.
superpowers. He would have some villains that would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, suppose the writer has probably forgotten a part, probably forgotten a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Probably is reintroducing a villain, but is showing that the hero is meeting him the first time. And he's
Okay.
probably met him in the second issue.
Right. Okay.
Then all these corrections. So this is as far as fiction is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes graphic novels come which are non-fiction, based on history. So whether they're historically accurate or not, whether
Okay.
the places mentioned there are correct or not,
Mm-hmm.
then whether some dialogues can be improved or not.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that.
Okay. So if you had to choose an alternative right now in this time and era, then what would you choose as a career? If you had this like anything in the world that you could do and you have the resources, you have the people to talk to about getting into that field, what would you?
So you are saying that I have all the money in the world and now I
Money,
have to choose a
resources,
career.
everything. Yes,
So
yes,
money is not a problem. I can just live for another 40, 50 years. There is nothing to worry.
yes,
Now I
yes.
have to choose a career.
Right.
I'll be a film reviewer.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'll be Anupama Chopra of Rajiv Masal.
Uh-huh. Okay, okay, interesting.
So
But
that's what I'll do if money is not a problem.
interesting. So also, you did a lot of these reviews on your website also, right?
Correct.
So also, why did you stop doing it? They were very interesting. I couldn't stop reading. They were very, very interesting because they don't just cover movies like where there is actually like drama, courtroom drama, but also movies like OMG. So the Talwar case also was covered there. So all of these interesting like movie reviews, they are very, very. I think Advocate Govind Chaturvedi also mentioned that how fond he is of these reviews also. So it's very interesting to read all of this. So can you tell me the process of why did you start this and how did you come about starting this?
So reviews probably started somewhere around 15 or 16.
Okay.
Vivek and I started Indian case law. Vivek was from NUJS. I
Mm-hmm.
met Vivek at Intel Advocate. Vivek had an inclination towards contracts and corporate law. My
Mm-hmm.
inclination was always towards intellectual property. So
Mm-hmm.
we decided this blog can contain both of them. Then see the initially, if you look at the brief of the blog, it is about summarizing case laws in minimum possible words,
Right.
right? But we realize that that's not probably something everyone is looking for, right? Number one. Second, the person who has started a blog wants to express himself. That's the basic
Mm-hmm.
underlying necessity of somebody starting a blog, right?
Right.
In 2012, 2015, YouTube or podcasts were not the rage at that time, and neither blogging was a rage when we started, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought, let's create some content that can engage more people, let us also learn something, and gets us more hits and views.
Okay.
Now everybody is not interested in writing a case brief. They get
Mm.
bored. So you can give them a movie to watch and just review it,
Right.
right? So that's
Mm.
what I did with Govind. Govind doesn't have a single case law brief on the website, and Govind would have at least 7 to 10 movie reviews. So that's what
Okay.
he liked,
Mm-hmm.
to give someone what he likes to
Mm.
do, and just get it's of good quality and then publish it.
Right.
and now you found this interesting. After these so many years, they've been published, 8 9 years. You found them interesting.
Right.
So and if I'll give you ask you the case summary, you will not enjoy it. That will be a part of the work, a part of a research which needs to be done. A deadline has to be
Correct.
given.
Because there's no story there, right? There's no people
Correct.
involved. Right.
Correct. But you started reading a review, that means
Mm.
you're enjoying it. You're reading
Mm.
it because you want to know, sometimes in reviews, whether he agrees with me, his
Mm.
situation, whether the reviewer is agreeing with me. It culminated, the idea was to expand the blog. The
Mm.
idea was to get more hits. The idea was that there are people who are willing to write, they don't have a channel to write,
Mm. Okay.
right? And yeah, that's how we started the review. We had, at some point in time, we had a lot of interns. So
Okay.
some interns might not be interested in writing a case summary,
Mm.
right? And we were a free blog, online creation, and so we were not making any money out of it. It was not important. So it was also important for us to ensure that the interns are happy. So we used to ask them, you do a movie review, go, we'll
Okay.
publish it.
Since you said that IP is something that interested you always, where did the interest of IP come exactly? Because this is something which is very niche, and that at that time it was growing. Of course, it's growing right now also, but it was a very niche field to get into at that point. So why did you decide to choose IP?
I decided IP because I had a love for cinema.
Hmm.
It was as basic as that. In third year,
Hmm.
we were introduced to intellectual property laws.
Okay.
I liked the subject. I thought that I have some idea of how the movie business is.
Hmm.
I think this law also helps you in learning more about it.
Hmm.
So that's why I forayed into intellectual property. And to be really honest, I love copyright.
Hmm.
Now I do everything, but the law that motivated me to join the profession and join this field was the copyright.
So, have you seen the trend of people actually growing to recognize that IP is something that our business needs or I need? And has it really improved like over the years right now? Or do you find people who are actually businesses who are either misled or they don't believe that IP is important for them right now?
I think the change has been huge
Mm.
from 2011 when I joined the bar to 2024 when we are doing this interview. In 2011, when I joined, there was not a single designated job in house for an IP counsel.
Okay.
Today, companies are looking for a specific hiring of an IP lawyer
Mm-hmm.
who knows how to do a trademark search, who can file trademarks on their behalf, who can file oppositions on their behalf, who can contest their marks and create a portfolio internally, and they don't have to hire an external counsel.
Mm-hmm.
This change I have seen, I'm sure a lot of companies would be doing this pre 2011, but from the last post COVID, I have realized almost all companies, 50 60% of the companies, good companies at a certain
Mm-hmm.
level, have a designated IP opening.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
lot of my colleagues in the industry are designated IP officers. Either they are dealing with international registrations of those company abroad or domestic registrations of those company abroad in India.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I think there is the field has grown. Number one, the
Mm-hmm.
openings, jobs have grown. Yes, the requirements have grown. Yes, money has grown. Yes, number of matters have grown. Yes, understanding of the disputes have
Mm-hmm.
grown better. People now understand more about trademarks. It's not unlike कि अरे उसका शॉपर स्टॉप है मेरा शॉपर शॉप है ये कहाँ से सिमिलर है.
Right.
Correct. Now they
Okay.
understand the IP disputes, but it has not been curtailed in the sense there are still counterfeiters, there are still people who infringe. So it has not been curtailed, but people now do understand IP, people do understand trademarks, people do understand designs and patents. Yes, there is accessibility, there is knowledge, but the number of matters I don't think have, or the number of infringers have not come down. But
Mm.
if you look and if you observe, the jurisprudence and the courts dealing with those jurisprudence have seen a tectonic shift. For example, when I had joined the bar, most of the matters were filed in the Delhi High Court for intellectual property violations. So it will be a simple matter. A was using probably a mark called mouse, B was using a mark called mouse, and there was an injunction.
Mm.
Right? Now the shifts have been that Delhi High Court is deciding on much more nuanced issues. Keyword
Okay.
advertising, whether it's
Mm.
a violation of a right or not. Then parallel imports, whether it's a violation of right or not. The senior bench, which I'll call the Delhi High Court, it is now on more nuanced issues. And these mouse versus mouse, A versus A,
Mm.
counterfeiting has more shifted towards the district courts, because
Okay.
the
Okay.
district courts now have seen the orders of the High Court and they
Mm.
also understand now what to do. 15 years ago, it was difficult to
Mm.
convince a district court judge as to why an order needs to be granted, why an ex parte order needs to be granted, what is the consequence of trademark violation, why is it affecting me. Now it is not that difficult, and you can approach the district courts in Delhi to get those orders. They understand the jurisprudence, they've been sensitized, they've been taught, they've been classes, and obviously the Delhi High Court has moved to deciding issues which have larger impacts.
But our business is actually recognizing that this is important for me right now. I need to protect my IP. Uh,
Yes.
they are.
If the answer is has to be in one word, the businesses are realizing.
Mm.
Uh, but obviously, there is no 100% to everything. Businesses do realize, some don't. Some realize more than required. In the
Mm.
sense of that, there was a client that I had. He wanted to register all his marks. He wanted to get copyrights for all his products. He wanted everything to be
Mm.
protected. I'm not saying that this is wrong and you shouldn't do it, but sometimes you have to explain the client as a friend that there is something called as business. Invest more in your business, invest more in your sales. Copyright is not mandatory. You will end up spending X amount of money
Mm.
where your budgets will be affected and the protection would be 0.1% more to the already existing protection.
Right.
Right? Suppose he's written a comic book. Let's say there is a client who has written a comic book and he wants to
Mm.
get a copyright for it. He already has a copyright for it now.
Mm.
But if you go and register, pay a lawyer 20,000 rupees for it, you already have a copyright.
Right. Mm.
So invest on trademarks, invest on your business,
Mm.
invest on probably your characters, invest on your merchandising.
Right. Right.
Why invest money on taking a protection which is not helping you much?
Right.
It's an
Actually.
incremental increase to your protection.
Mm. Right. Okay, so because right, there are many businesses who very easily let go of their names because they think that okay, it's a very ठीक है हो गया किसी ने डाल दिया अपना उनके नाम का सेम तो चलो कोई नहीं करने देते हमारा कौन सा बहुत बड़ा बिजनेस है ये सब एंड ऑल्सो आई डोंट टू गेट clients to actually put the money where their mouth is it's very difficult with IP especially I feel because they don't if they don't recognize that IP is really important for them then they won't be giving out that much money out of their finances to securing an IP for themselves. So, since you mentioned about in your website that you make sure that all of your uh, articles and everything that is getting out on your website has to have the most relevant case law, the more authoritative primary sources, and factors in enforceability challenges. So, all of these things have to be there in all of these publications that are on your website. So, this shows like a very strong research base that you have. So, you always like researching and getting curious about things and finding out how, what, when, why of everything. And where is this coming from? Like this ability of like researching, getting curious about things.
So I must tell you, if you would have observed, why I chose the 5 year law course, because I didn't wanted to utilize my brains for 5 years, right? I'm a very lazy person in the sense of I don't really work unless there is a requirement. So when I even I did my law, I in my first paper in the first semester, my first internal, there were 5 odd topics which had to be covered, and I distinctly remember. I remember it to the hilt even today. I there was a chapter on codification of laws.
Okay.
Macaulay came 1860, created the Indian Penal Code. Otherwise, there was no law. So there was this chapter on codification of laws which interested me like anything,
Mm.
right? So I just read that chapter and went to the exam.
Okay.
Found out everything on codification of laws, went to the exam, read nothing else. So it was an internal, so I wasn't really bothered. And
Okay.
thankfully, a question came on codification of laws. So it was a 50 mark paper. I did not know 40 marks of it.
No.
10, 10 mark question was codification of law. I got 8 marks out of it.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say, I knew what I learned. I spent time on it. I knew I got my basics right and I did it perfectly.
Right.
You expect me to do 5 chapters in one night for an exam,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's the system. That's the education system. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? I need to pass it. Yes, it's okay. But do I become somebody who's better at the subject? No. My view is one should have put in 5 separate exams, probably given me 5 days, and then probably asked me on different 5 topics, which I would have a time to read because you don't have time to read. Now, how I'm connecting it to the question that you asked on research is when we publish an article, we don't believe the intern. We ask 50 odd questions as to why do have you come to this conclusion. When we publish, so summaries are easy because they're just summaries. But sometimes there is a case comment, sometimes there is an article, sometimes there is an analogy that has been drawn, right? See, I'm sure you're in your 5th year. What year you are in?
I just graduated.
So you would have done your dissertation, I'm supposing.
No. There was
Okay,
no
so in Delhi, in IP University, you have to do a dissertation.
Okay.
So you formulate a question, there is a hypothesis, and then there is a research material, and there are footnotes, which are with every article. So we used to ensure that every article has a relevant footnote, and the intern has read that footnote. And the most important thing we used to ensure was on the chronology of jurisprudence.
Okay.
If you are saying about something in 2020 today, what was the position since past? Right. Now, suppose if you want to talk about the updated criminal laws and say that there is a new section which has been added or a section has been deleted and this is the consequence, let us read all the criminal laws in India since they were in inception and all the amendments, and then let's come to a conclusion why happened and what happened. So yes, we go into how, why, where, what. Yes, we do a lot of research to the articles that we put in. Some of the articles, I must tell you, Muskan, we've written. I personally love that article. There is an article. I did an analogy in fifth stand of Love Shabd Chicken Khurana with trade secrets.
Right. Okay.
So that article at that point of time covered every Indian judgment of trade secrets.
Okay.
So that's how thorough we expected everyone to be.
Right. That comes with interest also, right? If the topic is interesting, then you feel like taking a deep dive into the topic.
So sometimes writing an article never feels like work. So Flipstan, I've written 3 articles and they never felt like work.
Right. Okay. So it feels like you're a proper content creator because the more that content creator, the particular definition would be somebody who consumes content also, but then also produces something out of it. So if you are consuming cinema, but you are producing something out of it, which has your own, analogy or analysis of everything. So I think, be it your LinkedIn post or be it like editorial, work here, you feel like, giving out your inputs and you feel like giving out your particular that this is what I'm consuming, but this is what I think about it. So, it's very interesting. It has a lot of personality to showcase. So it's like I find it very, very interesting that you do take up projects like these because nobody would imagine that a partner of a like a big law firm would also be editing like a comic book on his side and enjoying actually doing that and also talking about characters from the fifth issue to this issue. It's very interesting to have somebody like that here.
Yeah, I never thought it like that. Thanks. I also didn't think it like that. That's the perception. So, at the end of the day, whether you are an associate or you're a partner, at the end of the day, you're doing a job.
Right.
You have your tasks. You finish those tasks in the timeline and then you do whatever you want to do.
Right, exactly. Actually, because this is what I really like about like the only reason why I started this channel and this particular talk show because I really wanted to bring out personalities of people who maybe go have a 9 to 5, or maybe just they seem like a very accomplished lawyer. But then they also have interesting things that they do on the side. So I have had people who skate on the side. I have had people who, draw, or maybe have a whole like a biking association, bikers association. So all of these interesting things. Also, a forensic psychologist on this channel who likes to make YouTube videos and do stand up on the side. So all of these different things, like
Yeah,
it's
so that's one another thing I harbored in life, to do a
what?
stand up.
Oh, that would be so interesting. I'm telling you. So your posts are incredibly funny. I'm telling you. So I would really enjoy a stand up from your side. You should try the Delhi Gurgaon scene maybe for stand up.
Maybe if I get the time, I'll definitely try. But sometimes it's just been happening since like 10 years now. I want to do, but sometimes you don't. I'm just like that. I don't know where we are.
You should really give it a try. Actually,
Maybe.
there are so many spots available for freshers. Like you can go sign up and do all of this. Because what if people actually start liking it? And even if they don't, you like it. That's all. Right?
No, no. Even if they don't, that's okay. As long as I enjoy it, everything is
Yeah.
fine.
Right, exactly. So let's talk a little bit about IP and how starting maybe an IP firm is, how relevant it is that right now, if let's say somebody has to start an IP firm, what what are the major problems that that person is going to face while starting?
So okay, see, the question has a lot of factors are involved. If you
Mm,
look at it, is somebody starting their practice 15 years down the line, 5 years down the line? Is he
mm,
starting it from a tier 3 IP office, which is known for its prosecution practice, or a
mm,
tier 1 IP office, which is known for its litigation practice?
mm,
What clients he had when he left their office?
mm,
Are the clients joining him?
mm,
Right. So I'll give a general answer because every case might be very different. So if
right.
somebody wants to start their own IP practice, I think the problem areas would be to gather clients.
Okay.
The clients are generally the corporates in intellectual property. To be really honest, the business doesn't come easily.
Uh,
Right, it starts in bits and pieces. If they are convinced that you have the metal, then probably it starts increasing. But again, as I told you, now the shift has led a lot of jobs to die down because the trademark prosecution work has become in-house. So
okay.
you don't hire a trademark prosecution lawyer for yourself. Now let's just take an example. Now let's suppose the client is a small bakery
Mm,
which is just started. It's a sweet lady. 1 2 years down the line, she started a business. She'll have 2 3 brands,
right.
probably her name, her board, her logo. So for
Mm,
these, yes, you can be a good lawyer. But for example, suppose there is an FMCG company which has
mm,
20 brands and 100 logos of those 20 brands. There is no, I'm not saying there is no sense, but what they've started doing is that when they hire an IP in-house counsel, they pay that IP counsel X amount of money every month,
mm,
right? Which deals with their filing, their trademark management, their renewals, their prosecution, and if there is an enforcement action, refers it to a lawyer who's external counsel.
mm.
Now, so what I'm trying to say is that the prosecution work, in my opinion, will eventually die down
Oh. Mm,
because companies are realizing importance of intellectual property. Then they're looking at their budgets, then they're looking at the budgets of external counsel, and then
mm,
they're doing the maths whether an internal counsel will be relevant to have
okay.
every month. Considering
Mm,
we have 100 marks, they have to be renewed. Do we pay him the renewal fees, or we can have somebody who can give us internal opinions? Right?
right.
Suppose you hired somebody at 60K per month
Mm,
for all your IP woes, right? And now you're giving him an IP opinion. Any
mm,
product that needs to be launched, you are taking his opinion, his or her opinion. They are doing your trademark searches, they are doing your filings, they are keeping updated you with the IP registry and news, right?
mm,
And they are sitting in your office
mm,
for 60, 70 grands. Now all of this will cost a lakh in my opinion
right.
if you will take an
Mhm,
external counsel.
right.
So that's where the economics is working today, I think. Another challenge is, where are you based? Are you in Delhi? Are you in Bombay? Are you in Meerut? Which city are you based in? So a lot of IP work is done in Delhi, in
Hmm.
litigation in Bombay, Calcutta, Madras also, and I think in Gujarat also in terms of
Hmm.
litigation, but mostly they are done in Delhi. So if you're starting an IP chamber in Delhi, you will have more work because there is more work without a
Hmm.
doubt. Gurgaon, Delhi, Noida. Similarly in
Hmm.
Bombay. But if you're, let's say, sitting in Indore, you may not have much IP work, right? Here there is IP work because there are already existing IP lawyers. The corporates are here. They file suits in the courts. So if I file a suit, let's say for my client, you could
Hmm.
be the possible next counsel for the opposite client
Right.
if there are cases being filed. So if you're an IP practicing lawyer practicing in Delhi, yes. But
Hmm.
again, in Delhi there will be 50 IP lawyers.
Right. Exactly.
Competition also.
Hmm.
And let's say there is a huge law firm which has 50 odd lawyers with them,
Hmm.
right? And their fresher can do filings and prosecution and opposition for which they're giving him 30,000 rupees.
Hmm.
Let's say. And a client comes to them and tells them, I have 100 trademarks.
Hmm.
You have to renew these 100 trademarks and I'll pay you 1000 rupees for these 100 trademarks.
Hmm.
Right? So you will get 1 lakh rupees professional fees. For
Hmm.
100 trademarks, probably you will pay 5 lakh rupees as government fees.
Hmm.
Right? Let's say, for example, somebody who's starting might not have 5 lakh rupees to pay the government fees.
Ah, right.
They will say, I don't have the money, sir.
Hmm.
The client, if the client is a nice person, he said, no problem. We'll pay the government fees. We'll pay your professional fees later. The client can also think that his office is not big enough to handle me. He's not paying me 5 lakhs.
Right. Right.
So a
Hmm.
lot of things. I think this could happen. So I think
Hmm.
these could be the challenges that somebody who's starting an IP practice. But on a silver lining, I personally think the practice is growing.
Ah.
You will have work more. So if AI will come in, you'll have more work.
Okay.
There are finer nuanced issues. There are issues at a counterfeit level also, at a pure trademark level also, in disparagement also there are issues. Issues will keep coming up.
Hmm.
See, I personally also think that growth of intellectual property law as a field to monetize is directly proportional to the education and the commerce of the country that you're living.
Hmm. True.
More the people will be educated, there will be more IP savvy and more work. More there
Hmm.
would be business, more work for IP.
Honestly, even if there are small businesses, even if they just recognize that this is something that is needed,
Correct.
there are very many startups who are getting their trademarks done like just at the drop of a hat. I want this product, maybe this product line I want to start. So I'll just even before starting that they rush to a trademark lawyer. I want this right now. I wanted to talk about how, let's say, even you're saying the field is growing and there are many people who are coming in, many new lawyers who are coming, particularly wanting to practice this or cyber law or some different niche of law. So let's say in IP law especially, do you think that people who are coming in need something more to be more competent as lawyers here?
Yes. If you that's a question where you can have more insight from me than on a question on IP challenges. I think people need to read a lot. Number one. I mean the idea is to hone your skills. I think you need to sit up and read almost all commentaries on the subject. Even if you don't have work pertaining to those subject at that point of time, if you really want to hone your skills and be a better lawyer, you need to understand the broader issues
Hmm.
and then slowly the nuanced issues. You need to
Okay.
understand what's infringement, you need to understand what's passing off, you need to understand what's dilution of trademark, then what are the finer issues in the copyright law, licensing, and you need not wait for the client that, oh, I'm an IP lawyer, I practice all intellectual property, but I will read only when the client will come to me. Then it makes sense. Why should I spend my time? I am completely against that concept. My
Hmm.
view is that you read. There are judgments being passed almost every second day by IP benches in India, in Delhi or in Bombay. Just sit, take a print and read. Make your
Hmm.
notes. One of the idea behind Indian case laws was to make a repository.
Hmm.
Suppose you read 10 case laws today, at least there will be three new propositions that would have come from those 10 case laws.
Hmm.
Right? You may remember them 10 years down the line. Suppose a client comes in with a proposition that this is what I want, and there is a direct precedent on the proposition, and you are not aware of that precedent at that point in time. You may end up giving a wrong advice.
Mm.
Now, let us say you read about that precedent, but your memory fails you.
Uh-huh.
You end up giving a wrong advice. So, when you read something, I have done this, save it somewhere. Just save it somewhere. Save the proposition somewhere. Let's just take an issue. Somebody comes to you with parallel imports. And a query had come to me once. I was traveling that somebody had launched a remote which used to work with Tata Sky, Airtel DTH, every DTH provider. The remote used to work, but it was not a Tata Sky remote. It was not issued by the Tatas. It was, suppose I launched a remote which is compatible with every dish connection. Okay. Now the query was, can I write something Tata Sky Airtel on it? So the answer to that query was, first the query was, where is the violation in law?
Okay.
And if there is a violation in law, what is the defense? And if this is the defense, how to best exercise it? Then I had advised, you can probably say compatible with.
Oh.
Can be used for. And don't use logos. Just the names. Right? So I knew the section at that point in time. I never have done a matter on the subject.
Right. Okay.
Right. But I have read. So the essential skill for any IP lawyer, for any lawyer in general, would also be first read, be abreast with the latest amendments and case laws, have the idea of the broad principles, understand the nuances, and whatever you read, make a repository. We made a repository on Indian case laws. If I am stuck today in a matter, sometimes I go on my own website to search, did I do something on it at that point? Old school lawyers maintain registers. Proposition case law. Proposition case law.
Sorry. I was saying that usually in my previous law firm where I was interning, they used to have like a Excel sheet for all of these different. Right, so people usually maintain things like this. One who was my mentor there, she advised me to make like a folder of all the different case laws of that particular, just like you said, parallel courts. So you make a folder like that, and then you have all the case laws there. So it's very easy to access that way, but it's very hard to maintain. I have to say, very hard to maintain because once you're researching, especially as an intern, because you get so many different cases to search upon. So it's very difficult to actually.
I completely agree. It is hard to maintain.
It's very important for everyone to be updated. So how do you stay updated with the new laws and the new amendments?
To be really honest, earlier when LinkedIn was not in its prime, I used to follow the Delhi High Court website and Manu Patra. I have not used Manu Patra for some time because now I have a team who can do that and pull those judgments out for me. But when I used to personally research, there was always a column of year. You can check judgments by year, 24, 23, 22. You put 24, okay. Now, what is your subject? You want to check what has come. You can put your subject, trademark. Now, everything in trademarks in 24 will come in front of you. Right? And then if you want Delhi High Court, Bombay High Court, that option was also there. So anything by Delhi High Court will also pop in front of you. You just have to go through them for 5, 10 minutes. So that's how I used to do it. If the judgment is not on Manu Patra, I used to check if something has come by the Delhi High Court. I used to check their website.
Okay, so now you keep yourself updated with LinkedIn.
Now there are people who post judgments. So that's very helpful.
There was somebody who posted recently on LinkedIn about how they had applied for a trademark. The business was okay with applying. They said it took a lot of time to do that. So after some time, there was an objection, and
AP is post. Anyways, go on.
I don't remember. I really don't remember. I changed the post. I remember, but I wanted to repost it also, but I couldn't at that time. So right. So they applied for a trademark. The client said that I can't. The objection I can't now. Go ahead with the go ahead with the case. Now he abandoned, and then later
then he
on
got an advertisement letter that the mark is okay.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, that was KP Shivaramakrishnan school. Yes,
Okay, interesting.
he's a
It
friend.
was very interesting because if this is how, and he was making fun of how, things like this happen. And he said
Yes.
at the end that the lawyer is also not going to get any credit, and the business is also not going to be happy about getting that trademark. So it's very,
In fact, the business will be of the opinion that boss, you gave me an advice that it will be abandoned and it's passed. What useful lawyer are you?
right, exactly. That is why I think they made this post so that the client actually knows that, you
Probably
know,
on a lighter way. Now, see, this has happened. I can't tell you, but yeah,
right.
let me know about it.
Right. They certainly shared it on their status so that the client will also see the post.
Yeah.
So, have you had experiences like this where
No,
the
I haven't. I haven't.
oh, that's
Thankfully,
great.
I've been lucky. I have not had such disturbing appearances at the trademarks office. I have
Okay.
had appearances where they were not convinced with the
Hmm.
argument that I have made, but I have not had an experience when they say that they are not convinced and the mark 2 months down the line is found to be passed.
Right.
So where
Okay.
I have appeared, I had known what will happen, and that has happened. But
Hmm.
yeah, so this sort of experience I have not personally. I have not experienced.
People in the comments were going on about how it's fairly common nowadays, like this is happening, and they don't understand how the
Maybe.
trademarks registry works actually.
So see, I did pure prosecution till 2018, 2019.
Hmm.
Then I shifted gears completely to litigation with having idea of the prosecution that I've done for 7 8 years.
Hmm.
Thankfully, I have not come across these uh, aberrations. But I guess if people are commenting it's common, it might be common. I really don't know.
So, what do you think? Like, if so, right now a lot of people have graduated from law school and they are looking at fields which are new, which are growing. So, and people obviously people have been advising me also that why don't you join somewhere which is a IP law firm because it's an ever growing field. Also, just that thing that women can do IP really well. I don't know where that comes from, but
Women can do everything and women are better lawyers. Completely agree. IP suits them more because they have a much more better creative side. So don't take it in negative, take it in the positive. If somebody is telling you go to IPN office because you're a woman, that doesn't make sense. IP office needs you because you're a woman, that makes more sense.
right, exactly. So that's why so like people have been doing that with me also. So I was hoping that if you can give like a general starter pack or like an advice to young law graduates
Pressure,
who've just gone in, right,
pressure.
freshers, like extreme freshers who have not done anything in IP before this.
Who have joined the practice, who joined
Uh,
firms or chambers.
they want to join, so like the first step would be of course joining, but then what should
See,
they be
I
doing?
can advise somebody who's joined. I can tell them what to do, where to start, and everything. But somebody who's supposed to join is a very difficult thing to answer. But let me just give this question a try. Let's divide into three parts. Somebody who's in doldrums about whether they want to join or not. Second could be somebody who's about to join, and third is somebody who's already joined. So for
Yeah.
the first one, I would recommend since you're in doldrums, you have to take your call. Your call needs to be where do you want to reach? Number one. To where, what is your economic goal? What is your personal goal for yourself? Do you want to stick to one particular field for all your life? Do you want to explore? Which city are you based in? What opportunities are there? Are you willing to relocate? Do you see yourself shifting to a council in a company, or you want to continue with litigation? So these are the questions that somebody should ask themselves and then decide whether they want to join intellectual property or not. If they want to know that whether it's a growing area, 100% yes. Whether it's lucrative, 200% yes.
Mhm.
Whether there are opportunities ever growing, yes. Whether they like it, it entirely depends on them. A lot of people have not liked it. Think about whether I've learned something new today. Number one, whether I know the procedure, whether I know the subject, whether I can draft, whether I can do whatever is required to be done or expected of somebody who's fresher, who's just come out of law school. and who will probably have more updated academic knowledge than a IP lawyer practicing for 10 years.
Okay.
Right. Now, the third category who's already joined, I will again recommend you to be diligent. Get your basic understandings of IP principles right. One of my key reason why I know what I know, I used to subscribe to patent and trademark cases journal since 2015.
Hmm.
So I
Okay.
used to read them. They will tell you how the law has evolved. I mean, because their judgments, you will get to understand the bent of the mind of the judge. Now,
Hmm.
something which I don't know how case laws are now taught in law schools, but something which I would recommend anybody to read is that when you read a case law, sometimes we just skip to the conclusion.
Hmm.
Just immediately go to the conclusion ki this is what the judge is saying. So the judgment says this. The judge is saying something because he's read something and
Hmm.
you skipped whatever he has read. You
Hmm.
skipped 10, 12 judgments that he has cited. If you'll read all of them, you'll understand the evolution of law.
Hmm.
Because the
Right.
judge will go 50s this had come, 60s this had come, this was the position, this is the latest precedent, and this is my opinion. Because the
Hmm.
judge, when giving a decision, also reads into the existing precedents,
Hmm.
right? So sometimes the conclusion you will not understand unless you have read the facts, you've read the arguments that have been made, and the precedents or the analysis done by the judge. So my view is, don't immediately jump to the conclusion in a judgment just
Hmm.
because your senior wants a proposition's answer immediately. Sometimes yes, there is a matter the next day, and you might have 4 or 5 research propositions,
Hmm.
but at the end of the day you should know how it has evolved, and if you know how the judgment has come up rather than just the conclusion, you will be able to assist your senior better to understand why the judge is saying this and how probably the judgment is in your favor or against it. If it's in your favor, how we can use it. If it's against you, how we can distinguish it. I think
Hmm.
that's the sum and substance I would tell.
Right.
For any law,
I,
I think the general due diligence is be updated, get all
hmm.
the amendments, see whatever could be the relevant ministry, what they are doing, what is the industry doing, what are the industry people doing, and what is the latest precedents. I think
Right.
that's
So just take a dive and just go inside this field. Like if you want to really, really pursue something, then you really have to go inside and search every corner
for every field.
for
To be really
every.
honest, for every field.
Right.
If a
Right.
lawyer will not take a dive into his subject, he will never understand it. I'll give
Hmm.
you a very small, I'll try to give you a very small example. Let's say that you've just received a matter, right? And the matter has 200 pages of documents, and there are certain trademark or issues and copyright issues, trade secret issues. Everything is there in one matter.
Hmm.
Now you have to give advice on all the possible issues. The
Hmm.
client might say, I want your advice tomorrow.
Hmm.
In Delhi, I don't think you'll get more time than this,
Hmm.
right? Not more than 24 hours to read and give advice. Otherwise, they will not consider you an expert, right?
Okay.
So now you have not read on the subject. You have no idea what trade secrets are. You don't know the jurisprudence on trade secrets. Probably what he's claiming to be trade secret has been publicly disclosed 20 years ago by some other company,
Hmm.
right? Whether public disclosure by other company will be concerned as a trade secret between these two entities.
Okay.
So you'll have to look in, you have to have a basic when you're joining IP.
Hmm.
There are 7 or 8 types of different IPs:
Hmm.
trademarks, copyright, designs, patents, semiconductor, there's plant varieties, Biodiversity Act, and trade
Yeah.
secrets, right? Now you'll have to have basic ideas of all of them, a
Hmm.
preliminary idea of all of them, even GIS, another I. GIS,
Okay.
you'll have to have a basic idea of all of them.
Hmm.
But I don't, a client obviously, neither as a senior, I will expect you to know something on plant varieties immediately.
Hmm.
But you have to understand the trademarks is the number one in terms of work. Copyright, designs, and patents. For some law offices, patents could be more work, but
Hmm.
generally, as the field has progressed in terms of litigation and talking, that's how it goes. And
Hmm.
then there are 4 5 probable litigations of geographical indications, and then the other acts are very minimal. But at least
Mm.
those first 5 or 4 acts, you should know the basics.
Mm.
You should have an idea of where it is going. And obviously, for every profession, I don't have to repeat myself. A knowledge of CPC, a basic understanding of the Evidence Act,
Mm.
what is the applicable procedural law in the court that you are practicing. For example, is as basic in Delhi district courts, there will be CPC applicable. If a suit is more than 3 lakhs, there will be an amended CPC by commercial courts applicable. And
Mm.
then when you come to the Delhi High Court, then the original side rules will be applicable. And then when you have an IP matter, the IPD rules will also be applicable.
Mm.
Correct. So you need to have an understanding. I've taken a lot of interviews over the years, and even experienced 2 3 years experienced people, while they may know the subject, they don't know
Mm.
the.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, so I think that's something you should do.
Okay. So since there is a debate on LinkedIn right now about generalization and over specialization. So what do you think about this? Like, if somebody is starting into law right now, or somebody, so two people, if somebody is starting in right now, and somebody who's already in law, do you think that they should over specialize or be a generalist at first?
My personal view is that for the first 4 5 years, right, till there is no burden on you, right, of having a family, of getting X amount of money in your house, try everything. Try everything. Try criminal law, try intellectual property, try competition law, and then
Mm.
when you'll have idea of these 4 5 laws, and then also you'll realize where the field is, where the industry is, what
Mm.
needs to be done, how much work hours have to be spent on this,
Right.
what is the return on this, then probably you can take an informed call.
Right.
People who do over specialization could be for multiple reasons.
Mm.
One could be that I love this. This is
Mm.
what I want to do. Correct. I'm not interested in any other law.
Mm.
Right. This could be one reason. The second reason could be you're stuck. You're
Mm.
stuck because you're not comfortable in your job.
Mm.
Right. You started with an organization. You continued with that organization. You are the panther of your office. You know everything in and out. There is no need to change and get out of your comfort zone. You're enjoying your life. You come in at 11, you get out at 7. You work 6 days a week, brief seniors, you're making good money. You're happy, that's okay.
Mm. Right.
Right. So there could be a lot of factors, but for somebody who's just starting out, if I could be of any help, the idea is for first 4 5 years, try everything and then
Mm.
take an informed call. This debate is an endless debate of general versus over specialization. Somebody
Right.
who's pulled it off, very good. I am not doubting a talent of a person who's over specialized, but at the end, when a client comes to you and there is a specific advice required, and you are a general litigation counsel, and what happens? Please look at the consequence of a wrong advice to a client. But if
Right.
it is a great case, we'll
Mm.
succeed. And when you go to court, you realize that not only you lose the case because the facts are completely against you, the judge is against you, he's a two-time past infringer, and you'll end up paying 20 lakhs. You don't know. So the
Right.
point is, over specialization is a benefit,
Mm.
but a general litigation guy or somebody who's covered all of his bases uh, will is also equally good. So
Mm.
this is a call somebody has to take depending upon their fact situation. We are not here to advise someone, but always remember that the pool is too big. You
Mm.
can take a drop from every part of the pool and then probably decide on to get on your own pond.
Interesting. Okay. That's a great ending point for our talk show here. Also, just I wanted to end with if you wanted to, since you're a fan of cinema, is there any dialogue which you would like to end this talk show with?
No, I okay.
Or any of your favorite dialogues. Also, what is your favorite movie? I just wanted to get this to our
My
audience.
favorite movie is Kosla Ka Ghosla.
Okay. Interesting. A comedy.
Yes, my favorite movie is Kosla Ka Ghosla. My favorite song is Kalona Ho from Kalona Ho.
Good choice. Okay.
And I've never thought about a favorite dialogue, but I'll just end it up with saying that it was great talking to you till we talk and meet again. And I hope what you sought to achieve through this session and chat, you achieved it. I'm also praying that I wasn't a bore, and I also think that whenever we release this, it does great for your channel, right? And just till we meet again.
Thank you, sir. You've been very kind,
The
and this
dialogue could be "Kabhi alvida na kehna" or something. I don't know.
right.
Use
Something I was thinking you will end up with some great, like this big grand dialogue with some old movie.
we can end it up with the session that we've had. We can end it up with this: life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
So that's great. Thank you so much, sir, for
Thank
coming
you.
on this show, and we had a great time. This is one of the very, very interesting and one of my favorite talk shows, like to be honest, because I had a lot of fun and it was very candid as per my expectations. Thank you so much. Everyone, you can check out the descriptions in the video for all the links. You can check out indiancaseLaw.in in the description, and you will also be finding his LinkedIn profile in the link in the description. Thank you. Keep watching our videos, and thank you so much.